Warchant TV, happy Libations Friday to all. And hey, I got to tell you, I was reminded of it again yesterday, and I'll be down there today. Hence the reason for the pre-record. There it is. It's out of the way. I like softball, man. I've gone all in. I watched 6-4 yesterday. I watched that game and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I thought to myself, like, I could watch this. I could just sit around and watch this on a regular basis. So, as a note, there you go, Knowles, getting a win. Tried to kind of throw it away a little bit, but that's a ranked team that they beat, and a lot of fun to watch. And then, Tom, I don't know if you watched, but it's still true. I know it's not Florida State, but Tiger Woods with 3 birdies to end the day was really cool. Like, I think everybody enjoyed that. It was fun to watch. I got to tell you, he looked good.
He did, and it was borderline emotional at the end there.
It was.
He had to gather himself. It reminded me of when he won the Tour Championship just ahead of the Masters again. And it's that walk down the fairway at East Lake, and Rory's getting mobbed because he's not walking up with Tiger. And then he has to comport himself to finish off the victory at East Lake. But there was the same kind of look yesterday, which was, oh my God, I can do this. There was doubt, and now there is no more doubt because he was hitting bombs left and right. And he said it that, the fairway structure and the temperature and the weather out there at Riviera allows for the ball to roll out a little bit more for him to get some cheap distance. That's the way I drive the ball. I get a lot of rollout. But he was carrying it 285 to 295. And the ball speed was up. Not that we're getting into way too far into the weeds. Let's just say that Tiger Woods can hit the ball the distance necessary to win on the PGA Tour still. With an old body, one leg, but he's in pretty good shape. Obviously, Tiger always is in very good shape. But talking about the wear and tear up on his shoulder, his back, his legs, he can still hit the ball far enough to win, and he displayed touch yesterday in tournament conditions, and 3 birdies coming down the stretch. Got everybody not misty-eyed, but hopeful that, you know what, I think he's got another run at a win of some kind. Maybe not a major, but he could win a tournament again.
I just think it's, it's a sporting story. So I don't care if you like golf or not. I mean, it's Libations Friday. It is indeed loosey-goosey. We are just, providing some fresh content here. But I got to be honest with you, as a sports fan, and that's really at the root of it all. I'm a huge sports fan and was lucky enough to fall into a career. What a cool story. It was awesome. And watching, and I knew people who don't care about golf who were texting me yesterday, like, hey, are you watching this? Yeah, of course I'm watching this. And they were all kind of like, I got to admit, this is really cool to watch. And Justin Thomas was almost in tears, and seeing the look on his face, and when they were standing on the green on 18, and he's like, got to calm everybody down, like you said. It was really cool. And I don't know, we want our heroes, even if they're not our personal heroes, even if they're not, I don't know, the people we look up to in life, but sports-wise, we want them to have one last run. There's always one last run as they retire. You want Muhammad Ali to win that fight against Trevor Berbick. He didn't. He looked terrible. I wish I hadn't seen it. Last week, you and I were joking around about Willie Mays. I don't know how many people have watched the documentary on HBO about Willie Mays. It's really good. But to see him out there stumbling around with the Mets stinks. You don't want to see that. Watching guys at the end of their career kind of fall all over themselves trying to recapture glory is depressing. So when a guy, to your point, has the club head speed, by the way, and that's the key to me, is the ball speed, the club head speed, spin rate, those kinds of things. Do they equate to the PGA Tour's upper level? And the answer is a resounding yes. It's better than a lot of guys. It's better than most, to quote one of our favorite clowns. To me, when you watch that, you go, oh, well, if you can actually walk for 4 days with that club head speed and that ball speed, then the answer is, yeah, you could win because obviously he's still mentally tough.
Yeah, and the good news is that today, I think he tees off just around 10:30, 10:25 Eastern time, which if you have ESPN Plus, I'm sure it'll be on the featured pairings, and I'm sure Golf Channel will cut to every shot, even though it's not their coverage window. That means that Colt Knost probably will not be walking with him, which would be a good thing. That guy sucks. That's done. He can stay on Sirius XM. That guy sucks. Do you know that there were 3 or 4 critical putts in the round where he's talking to Frank Nobilo about something that's got nothing to do with the putt? Like, did they get so calmed down by his performance on the first few holes that they figured that they could talk about the big picture? Because I want to document every one of these shots.
Yeah,
I want to let them breathe. I want to let the great player that is Tiger Woods add to another chapter and, maybe comment on the putt that's happening right in front of you, because I don't know how many more he's going to have. That body could break down at any second.
Yeah, today. Could break down today. Yes.
That could have been it. That could have been his last sub-70 round in PGA Tour play. As good as the numbers are, if his ankle fails him or he takes one false step down a hill coming down number 1, that could be it. That could be it. The good news is, though, if he makes the cut, he goes on to do whatever, and his body holds up this week. I mean, he's 5 behind. He's not going to win this tournament. There's no chance. I don't think. There's no chance he's going to win this tournament. But you have those numbers. You have that control and the putter came to life on the back 9. Easter weekend in April.
I thought of you yesterday because the reality is, and whenever we talk about Tiger Woods, and again, it's more big picture. It's a sports story. I thought of you, though, because the ball speed, the ability to hit a draw off a cut lie, off a fade, off that left to right that the grounds makes you hit. That course, by the way, is oftentimes one that is referenced when they look at the types of shots, the ball speed, and the putts.
Yeah.
They talk about it akin to Augusta. And Tiger can only win these days a handful of tournaments on the PGA Tour. There are other tournaments that the layout itself, given his breakdown of the body, will not let him win.
Well,
but this is one of them, and Augusta's one of them. It's no secret why he chose to return here. He's from there. He played that course as a kid. He loves the course, but also it is in many ways a wonderful warm-up to Augusta National. And I think anybody, the casual golf fan, wants is to see that. Can you be around on a Saturday? Will you be like in the mix? Can I tune into the Masters and know that Tiger's 4 back? And I don't know. I mean, something could happen. Yeah, that's all you want. That's all you want.
Yeah, I mean, if you're somebody who's running props, you would say that his round 1 over/under before yesterday would be 74.5, 75.5, something like that. And after the round yesterday in that performance, 71.5. I mean, you got to change your expectations. The thing is that this course has 2 major hills. It's down 1, it's up 18. So it's not quite the track in terms of the undulation.
Nothing's like the Masters. Yeah.
No, that's nuts on the body. But apparently everything else is fine. It's just his ankle needs to get a little bit better. And also, the most important thing is the touch around the greens. And on the first, 4 or 5 holes, he had a great pitch on number 1 to make birdie on that par 5. But you could tell with the putter, like it wasn't prime time. It wasn't ready. By the second 9, you're saying, oh, he's got it down to that little infinitesimal touch about being able to putt on essentially tile or laminate flooring, because that's what it is on the PGA Tour, and it's what it is at Riviera. Again, is it a little in the weeds? Yeah, but it's Tiger freaking Woods. And I know that catches headlines and that captures attention. If Tiger Woods is going to be in contention in the 2023 Masters, dear God, the numbers once again will soar, because this guy could win major number 16, win 83.
Yeah, you know what's funny is I thought a little bit about Michael Jordan, and I want to revisit this because there's this thought that Michael Jordan's stint with the Wizards in some way diminished his legacy, just because how great he was, obviously, with the Bulls. But in truth, I mean, that stint with the Wizards featured a 55-point game against the New York Knicks in the Garden in his return, which you remember.
Who doesn't go 50 on the Knicks in the Garden? I mean, really, honestly, it's a rite of passage for everybody.
But it also featured several real highlights, real reminders, real moments where you could once again engage with the sports hero, where you could go, oh, tonight my man's dropping 37 and you can't stop him, and he's good and he's making everybody better, and he's Michael Jordan. There were a lot of nights like that. A lot of nights. He averaged over 20 a game in his stint for the Wizards. I understand it was kind of weird to watch it, but I think that's all the sports fan wants is, can you give me a glimpse? Can you show me again that that's in there any given day, any given tournament? Now, Tiger wouldn't want to hear this conversation. He would hate this. I do think he doesn't like it. You heard him basically lay it out there before the tournament, like, hey, guys, this is not a novelty act. I feel like I can win. I feel like I can play. I don't want to. It reminds me of Jack, by the way. Jack used to do that late in his career. And late in his career, if you go back and watch Jack's interviews, there's 84 and 85 where he's terrible. He's not making cuts. It's embarrassing. There are moments that you're like, oh my goodness, Jack, please exit stage left. What are we doing? But he kept saying, well, no, I think on a given weekend I can really compete. I think I'm pretty close. I think that, there's some courses these days that I maybe can't compete with the best in the world anymore, but I'm not a weekend hacker. I'm still a good golfer and can win a tournament or two. And then in 86, he wins the whole thing. He wins the Masters because he was in the mix. He believed he could. He was still competitive. It was the right track. He had the shots. He understood the landscape. So when you watch Tiger right now, we're not talking about a guy that we think can win the tournament necessarily, although I don't know if he goes 500 today, maybe he can win the tournament. Who knows? But the point would be, he played golf with the best players in the world. He was better than Scottie Scheffler yesterday, who just won and is the number one golfer in the world. He was better than Scottie Scheffler yesterday. There you go.
And he's shaking off rust while he's doing it. Like, he hasn't played competitive. He hasn't shot sub 70 or hadn't prior to yesterday for over 800 days. 800 days the last time he broke 70 in a competitive round of golf. That's stupid. But stupid is normal when you're talking about all-time greats. I mean, come on. Last summer into the fall, Aaron Judge is the talk of baseball. But you know what? By the time late September rolls around, he's not the number one story. It's Albert freaking Pujols, because Albert goes in the Wayback Machine to his St. Louis playing career. I mean, there was only 1 or 2 years in his time in Anaheim in which he resembled the player that he was in St. Louis, the first stop in his career. And then his ops down the stretch, the chasing of 700 home runs, all this stuff. We love it. We love the nostalgia come to life once again. That's what Augusta is, the renewal, whatever. Jim Nantz can, wax poetic, or somebody can write it for him, and then he'll talk about it on the air. But this is happening before our eyes again here, and I think one of the most telling moments before 18, before he makes the putt, is that this is a tough situation. You know this on a golf course. In a competitive setting, or even on the weekend playing with the boys, if somebody sticks an approach before you do, if somebody throws an absolute dart like Rory McIlroy did before it's your turn, you've got a choice to make. You either nails, here we go, you put it down and you respond, or it's very easy to back off and say, well, damn, I'm not going to do that well. Like, you play internally in the mind. Tiger in that moment, I swear, ratchets it up before his final approach. He's like, oh, I see what's up here. I got you. And it's a better shot. He hits a better shot in the face of Rory McIlroy, who had a better round. Rory went 4 under to Tiger's 2 under. But that is the competitiveness that it takes in order to win these tournaments where, okay, anything you can do? Look, you're Rory. I'm freaking Tiger. And he still is, nearly 50 years old, has the competitive edge, and then the talent to pull it off. This could get fun in 2023. Don't know what week. I don't think it's this one. but it's fun by itself to see that he's capable of this kind of stuff.
I think the key is that does he get through the 4 rounds without any real noticeable decline? Do we see he may not shoot 68. He may not, that's fine. Can you go out there and compete and look like you can play 4 days of golf and walk 4 days of golf and not see the effects of, the physicality? Because to me, when he didn't play well last year, when we got a glimpse of him, it was heartbreaking because there would be a round where he'd play well and you thought, oh, it's in there. And then you'd watch a guy who's just trying to get by.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to watch Tiger just try to get by. Nobody wants to watch anybody who was once great struggle to walk the damn course.
Well, yeah, there are degrees of it. I am more.
You do see the limp a little bit still, yeah.
Yeah, well, and sometimes he does when he doesn't make that 8-footer. It's funny how that limp all of a sudden presents even more.
Loser's limp is true about any professional athlete. You see it all the time. You feel the pain a little bit more when you're missing. I don't think it's like an attempt to be, a source of empathy. I do think that you feel bad for yourself when things aren't going well, and you do have pain, and you've been able to fight that off while you're competing. But when things aren't going well, I do think you fall into this default sort of, oh, well, that really does hurt. So, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, the one thing I'd say is I'm more willing to watch a legend try and fail than you are. Like, you're like, oh, no, this is not going to be the last image I see of you. But for me, to even get to that point where they can, as long as it's not a stupid exemption thing like Arnold Palmer shooting 95. There's a line, I guarantee you. That,
yeah.
Every major tournament until he decided to walk away from every major tournament. Like, you're watching the bottom line scroll of all the scores, and it's like.
You see Palmer 102, you're like, no, man, come on.
Plus 37. Get the hell off the course, plus 37. Jesus Christmas.
It does hurt
you. Legit. I'd have a chance to beat you that day.
When you can legitimately say with sincerity, I probably would have beat Arnold today. That's not good, dude.
And I need my B+ game, and I'm not good. I'm not good by any stretch of the imagination compared to these guys. Like, I take down that 82-year-old punk, but that's what you're talking about with Jack in this individual sport. Like, if this is the process, if he believes he's good enough, then I go for it, dude. Go for it.
It's fun
because you have proven people wrong. How many times in your career with swing changes, coming back from injuries, the Masters, winning the Masters again,
which was just the other day, by the way. It's not that long ago.
right, exactly. So full marks. And I'll be tuned in. I mean, we're taping this pretty early this morning, so you can get on the road. I'll be watching. I'll have it on ESPN Plus while I'm doing work for the site. And one other note on softball for you real quick. Are you staying in Clearwater tonight into tomorrow?
Yeah, I am tonight. I could go, and
Saturday, 10 a.m. It's a 10 a.m. start on Saturday against UCLA. That's not bad.
Well, just remember, I am going to a concert tonight, so we'll see. I mean,
I didn't say 7 a.m. I said 10 a.m.
That's true. By the way, I'm going to this concert tonight, and this should be fun. This should be a good time, and I'm looking forward to it. But you're right. I thought about it yesterday. Well, yesterday was a day, and we'll kick this first segment to the curb here in a second. But yesterday was one of those days that was just a grand welcoming. It really was. Welcome to spring. Yeah. It was. Tom. Not to get too sentimental, but I met a friend. I went by Gordo's. I went out to dinner afterwards, but they had the famed garage door, if you will, open.
Yep.
The crosswind was coming through. On one TV was the Genesis, was Tiger Woods doing what he's doing and watching Rory. And hey, by the way, bravo, Ricky Fowler. Another great round. Cool to watch. I think he's back. This is kind of fun to watch as well. I know. I mean, he's not Tiger Woods, but I hate to see greatness just fall off a cliff. So it's good to see him back. And then I had the softball on the other TV, and I watched the Cardinals out the window, and not the baseball team, but the real life birds. And I was like, I'm an old man. It does not get better than this. I'm having a margarita. I've got the damn golf on right here. I've got the softball right here. And I thought to myself, check yourself. You're saying I've got the softball right here. That's how far that sport's come for me. I loved it. I was watching that. I was glued when they were trying to throw that away after being up 6-0. And then I'm watching the big rally from Arizona. I'm like, no. And I'm getting into it. And I apologize, guys. I'm not trying to denigrate the sport, but I was like frustrated. I'm watching this. I'm like, hey, go get her. Get her off the hilt. This is not going to get it done. I was engaged in the same way I am with baseball. It was a beautiful it's the dead of winter, but it was a beautiful spring day for me.
It's a tough line to walk because you apply so much baseball mentality to softball, and it's impossible to do so. It's wrong. But there are times where Kat, who is your all everything, she's going to be your ace. Mm-hmm. She's going to be, in a weekend series that you got to have, she's going to pitch a ridiculous amount of innings. So you have to forgive her when she gets a little shaky because she's coming in the second inning of this ball game yesterday to shut a threat down. Does brilliantly, but then when she gets lost a little bit. I get that there are some errors and only 2 of the runs are earned, but there are times when she doesn't look like she's on, and there are other times where Kat Sandercock is just dominant. So, and you're going to see her 3 or 4 times in a weekend if you really, really need to. So it's hard to apply that one size fits all like you would to a starting pitcher where this is it. These are the 6 innings you get or the 7 innings you get, and either you suck or you don't. But when it's all said and done, they get the dub. They're playing Arkansas today.
Yep.
And again, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.
Look for your boy. Look for your boy out there, everybody. When the cameras pan and the 700 people that are there, you might see this guy. Come on, ladies. Let's go.
Like a blast. I know. And I'll be down there, 20 minutes up the road in Palm Harbor. It won't be till late on Saturday, though.
I should text you. I should be like, hey, dude, meet me at the ballpark. Let's go. That would be hilarious. There's the Jeff Cameron Show behind home plate. Let's go.
Well, I tell you, if the game on Sunday, because I'm doing something with my family on Sunday afternoon, if the game on Sunday wasn't so damn late, because they're playing 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock, Louisiana. If they had a 10 a.m. on Sunday, I think I'd go. But
yeah.
We'll see.
So there it is in a nutshell. A much more, I would say, welcoming conversation as opposed to the one that I had yesterday with somebody on the beat about Leonard Hamilton and where we're at and where this might go. I did not want to open today's show with a recount like we did yesterday of the embarrassment and where that might end up. Instead, it was hope springs eternal, which is true because pitchers and catchers have reported softball underway.
Baseball today, baby.
I know. It's good stuff. The return of Florida State baseball. You'll get to hear that interview, the one that I did with Link Jarrett later today. And I'm really pumped about this baseball season. So it's a little bit, I don't know. It's a launching point. It's a good day, but it's also inspiring to be back. When you change seasons, you get depressed. When you think about the end of football, you get depressed. These days, Tom, everything goes so fast for me that I want to enjoy what is. And what is right now is Florida State baseball is back. Major League Baseball is back. The second half of the NBA season, the All-Star Weekend, is underway. And softball is back. And let's go. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
July 9, 1755, near Fort Duquesne, now the city of Pittsburgh, a 23-year-old British officer leads his troops in battle during the French and Indian War. Though fired upon repeatedly, this young lieutenant colonel remains unharmed to the disbelief of the native warriors. 15 years later, a respected chief sat over a council fire with this same man. As he told all those listening, the Great Spirit protects this man and guides his destiny. He will become the chief of nations, and a people yet unborn will hail him as the founder of a mighty empire. The man was George Washington, who went on to become the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army and the first president of the United States. Celebrating our nation's quest for freedom. Lid and Glass on South Monroe for mirrors, shower enclosures, and window glass. Call 222-5781. And Sellers Tile on Capitol Circle Northeast for tile, carpet, hardwood, and luxury vinyl. Call 656-8453.
Let's be honest, we all have way too much stuff. Maybe your storage closet is full, your garage is full, or the guest bedroom is a mess. Call Southeast Portable Buildings, 580-6400, or visit them online at southeastportablebuildings.com.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to drink water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. We're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mndlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Hi, this is Jamie McClenny from Trek Financial in Tallahassee. Managing downside risk in your portfolio is one of the biggest challenges that you'll face in retirement. Trillions of dollars in stimulus from the Federal Reserve and D.C. politicians, combined with zero interest rates, have propped up financial markets since the financial crisis ended in 2009. The Fed recently ended quantitative easing and has started to raise interest rates at a time when the global economy was already slowing. Have you considered what another 50% correction in the stock market would do to your retirement plan? If you're concerned about where this all might be headed and would like to find out about the potential benefits of an active risk management strategy for your portfolio, give me a call at 850-900-5200 and schedule a time for a review of your portfolio from an active risk management perspective.
Make Jamie your first call for a second opinion. Investment advisory services are offered through Trek Financial, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
I get that these things are patterned and like anything else, they follow up on whatever your views are, and thus you are ushered in, links and videos and stories that fit whatever narrative you've already revealed yourself to follow. But ESPN.com has absolutely gotten me pegged. I woke up early this morning, as Tom and I both did, to do this show, and the headline reads, "How Florida State will make the college football playoff." I mean, you sons of bitches. You got, of course I'm going to click that story. Of course I'm going to click that story. Now, do I understand that a guy in Wyoming is not getting that story? That story is not on his timeline. Do I understand that that doesn't exist all over the place, but only on my browser? Yeah, I do. But they got me. That was the headline, "How Florida State makes the college football playoff." The thing is, somebody had to write that article. ESPN did task somebody with writing that article, primarily to send it to me and people like me, but somebody had to write that article. And you would not write that article about, I don't know, Ole Miss. You wouldn't write that article about
Florida, Miami,
Wake Forest. Like, you wouldn't write that article.
Yeah, Miami, Wake Forest. They're about the same tier. That's good. No.
Wake Forest is a much better program.
Yeah, Duke, Miami. Yeah, Duke's trending upward. Elko's got that thing rolling.
Tom, Duke won 8 games last year, and one of those was over Miami in Miami, going away. So, yeah, let's not insult Duke. My point is Miami, I don't know, that's USF territory. That's a better way of describing it. But, yeah, somebody at Wake Forest might actually get the article how Wake Forest makes the playoff. Miami would not get that article sent to them. It would not be on their browser. It got me thinking, in truth, how many teams, how many fan bases got that article? That's actually the point of the segment. How many fan bases got that article? There had to have been a cutoff. You can't, with a straight face, send that to Wyoming fans. Like, where's the cutoff for send the guy that constantly clicks on such and such stories? You know, what's the cutoff? Florida State's was obvious. You know, if you're ESPN, you're like, oh, well, they could make the playoffs. Write that article. And how many teams did you write that article about? 15?
Yeah, maybe 15. You might expand it this year a little bit because TCU made it and they were unranked. So you might get a little bit more aggressive when you're doing the previews. But Florida State is, look, there's an inner circle and then there's that secondary circle every year. The inner circle is comprised of the teams we all know of: Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
You know, Oklahoma was there for a long time when Lincoln Riley was head coach. Now USC is in that inner circle of, yeah, it seems like they've got a clear look at it. Even though USC hasn't made the playoff, you know, they're
close. Yeah.
We are borderline between the inner circle and that secondary circle. Period.
Dante's Inferno, my friend. We're on that circle right there, just outside of hell.
Well, and I guess one of the locations this year could be considered that for the semifinal of the playoff. But I mean, it's a very simple thing here. You win 12 games, you win the ACC out of 13. So you get 13 cracks at it. If you win 12 of them, you win the ACC, you're going to be in the playoff. You've got to prove this year that you could beat ranked teams. And if you do that, the rest of the ACC schedule is fairly manageable. And then you got to go on the road. You got to handle Florida. And who knows what – that program's a great mystery. I have no idea what they're going to be in November in Week 12. But this whole schedule, if you're going to make a run at the playoff, if you're going to have the roster, like all these things are lined up, this is about as ideal as it gets to have a crack at the playoff. Win 12 out of the 13 games, including the ACC championship, and you are in the playoff. Nobody can stop you or hold you out.
It's fascinating because we've gone from can you win 8 games to can we make the college football playoff. It's a very different 7-month conversation. It changes the entirety of the offseason. It changes the way we view the upcoming spring practices and the way that we're talking about a program, the expectations, the pressure, all of it has shifted now. It's a much better talking point. It's a much more fun discussion that we're having these days. And admittedly, I find myself kind of stepping back frequently. So, for example, I bring this up because when I saw that article, I get the algorithm. I understand why I was sent that headline, that my ESPN.com search is different than the guys that roots for Georgia, is different than the guy that roots for Miami, is different than the guy that roots for USC or Oklahoma. But when I get up in the morning, given that I'm a sports talk show host, I do type in ESPN.com and I look at scores. I want to see who won what NBA games while I was asleep. I look at headlines. Did anybody get traded? These days, I type it in, and I expect to hear something about baseball, who's going to be ready in time for the season, who's going to pitch in spring training, who's healthy. Yes, I do the personal search of the Pittsburgh Pirates, even though they're terrible, just because I want to see, what our rotation is going to look like. And I see that headline. And that headline is, how does Florida State make the college football playoff? And I click on it because I'm a sucker and they've got me and they know that. And that's why they sent me that. That's why I see that. A lot of people don't see that headline. But I also, when I click on that and read it and engage and I guess fall victim to the prey, I also exercise a bit of, rational behavior and step back and ask myself, do I deserve to read that headline? Should that be something that I'm reading? Is it just, they're just pandering? Is this something that I think is legit? Because I want to have that conversation and make sure that I'm talking honestly with my audience and not just fall victim to the hype of a website built around an algorithm. Well, and the truth is, absolutely, they're in the conversation. I guess what I'm getting at, Tom, is that I'm really fighting these days to make sure that I'm level-headed and balanced in the way that I view this Florida State football team and what's possible. And I do think that there will be a tendency for all of us to get carried away. They have not been good for very long. 1 year in the last 6. Last year, they were that team. And you can argue they weren't all that good last year. You could. You know where I could go with this discussion in terms of who you beat and who you didn't beat and how you looked, even in wins against decent, maybe plus level teams. So that's the fight. That's the constant pull is, are we being fair?
Yeah, I mean, look, this schedule, the way it's laid out, the fact that there are no divisions in the ACC, I think are the two principal reasons beyond the roster that you think that the playoff is possible. If it was you go to Clemson week 4, and if you lose it, you're out of the playoff because you can't play for an ACC championship. This is not like the SEC or the Ohio State case in which if you don't win your conference, you can still make the college football playoff. Then that game actually would have much greater importance, and we would be talking about it more than LSU, the Clemson game. But because the divisions are gone, and because you can have a second crack at it no matter where you are, and you might need, Louisville to lose a couple of times or whatever it is. We've looked at the ACC schedule and said, all right, who has it really easy and who doesn't? That opens the door for a free strike. So now you understand what it's like to be in the SEC in kind of a different way. Yeah. You understand what it's like to be one of the halves. But that all presupposes that you beat LSU in week 1. So September's critical. You got to go 1-1 in those 2 games at minimum in order to have a crack at it. But you look at our schedule the way it breaks out this year. We dodged North Carolina, which, if that was here or there with that quarterback, Mac Brown being what he is, with that quarterback, that's a dangerous landmine that we avoid.
Yeah, Drake is he's good.
Miami comes here.
I'm not worried about them anyhow, but yeah.
Exactly right. And Florida lost a whole lot on the offensive line. They don't have their quarterback. Is it the final week of the season? Yeah. Is it in the swamp? Yeah. But that team doesn't scare me the way that Clemson on the road does, the way that LSU in week 1 does. So who's left? A road trip at Pitt in November? Okay, I'll allow for it. But you really have to think hard and devise something out of nothing in order to get to a place where you find 5 games on the schedule that scare you. I mean, 4 is probably the limit. So
I think four is pushing it, yeah.
So at that point, with the roster that you do have, yeah, you win 3 of those 4, and you're playing in the ACC title game and a college football playoff berth is on the line. Again, we can have the discussion, and we did a lot coming out of the national title game, about are you a playoff contender or a championship contender? 2 very different things. But Florida State is 100% a playoff contender going into the season, and a win over LSU would only strengthen that argument. And they beat LSU last year. Both teams are better. Both teams have a couple of key losses, but we'll see. I mean, this is not false bravado to go from an 8-win expectation to say that this team could go to the college football playoff. I will believe that that's legitimate to the end of the offseason, and then we'll see what's real.
Well, and hence the article that was sent my way. Yeah, so does ESPN. So do those that cover college football believe that Florida State is a contender for the college football playoff. My man, Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, bears have their own space. Well, you got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse.
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay. Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We've got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song, and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think that's enough?
We can talk about our feelings.
That's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
I want to say it out loud over and over again. Guys, we were 5-7 the year before last. 5-7. In the NFL, it is not odd to watch a sub-500 team go to the playoffs the following year. Happens all the time. Happened again this year. It'll happen again next year. Somebody who did not have a winning record will make the playoffs next year in the NFL. Somebody that is not on your radar will reveal themselves to be very good next year in the NFL. It is rare that a college football program goes from 5-7 to being a playoff contender. It is rare. That does not happen very often.
Correct.
Florida State is a playoff contender. That is a fair assessment. Whether you think they'll go to the playoffs or not is a different discussion. Are they in the discussion is the broader talking point. And it's absolutely true. They are. They are in the discussion. And that's a testament, obviously, to Mike and that staff. And we hope to have some interviews for you in the next couple of weeks with that staff, actually, by the way, guys. Just a little sneak peek behind the curtain. We're planning on talking to Adam Fuller and Alex Atkins, and we'll try to do that throughout the offseason, bring you some interviews on the JCS. But, it's weird to me. Excuse me. It's weird to me that that's where we're at, and when I pinch myself, when I exercise the restraint and I take a step back, and I ask, is this a fair conversation? Is this legitimate? Are you falling victim to the hype that a website wants you to click on? It is weird to say, no, it's true. They are. And then that takes you down a bunch of different roads about what is a successful season and what's a disappointing season.
Yeah, I would say also kudos to you for going to ESPN.com every day. I don't have the strength to do that. Their football section is fine. We love David. We love Andrea. They do a good job with it.
Yeah.
Some of the other writers on the college football side of it, I could take or leave. I'll read Passon for baseball. Buster doesn't put enough non-plus content out there. He's also kind of just coasting home, I think. But other than that, if I'm looking for scores, maybe ESPN. But that website is rough because I don't need like 85 first take videos on the front page.
Well, and that's what they're going to give you. I just do it to look at the scores from last night's NBA games and the upcoming hockey matchups. You can get it really simple right there on the front page. I've catered it, to what I want. But agreed. I understand what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, that headline struck me this morning. Here I was pouring a cup of coffee and I read that headline. I was like, wow, that's a real thing. Like, I'm reading this thing, and is it real? Take a step back, Jeff. Is this something that, obviously they're spoon feeding me
Right.
because I've catered the site. But I mean, somebody had to write that article. That was on somebody's radar, and that doesn't make it so. So, I immediately thought, well, let's think about that question. Let's think about that headline. Let's think about what that means. What's real and what's not real. I'm telling you, if you're a fan of Baylor, you didn't get that freaking headline. You didn't get that. If you're a fan of Kansas State, you probably didn't get that.
Well, okay, so let me ask you this. I know we're strapped a little bit for time, but I'll ask it quickly. If they go 10-2 and they lose to LSU and Clemson, and obviously at that point they might not make the ACC championship game. Let's say they don't. 10-2, you're going bowling. There's no ACC championship game. Is that a successful season?
Yes,
it is.
Yeah. If they go 10-2 and their losses are to LSU and Clemson on the road, LSU at a neutral site, preseason top 10 team, sure. Yeah, this is my point. I'm glad you asked the question.
I don't think so.
We're going to have this debate all offseason, and everybody amongst the fan base is going to have this debate. This is where I push back on the expectations a little bit. They were 5-7 a year ago. They were terrible. That roster is not loaded. It's not. I get into an argument with our cohort and my dear friend Corey Clark on this. Just because somebody is ranked top 5 in the transfer portal doesn't mean they're an elite player. That kid played at Western Michigan. He was a whatever coming out of high school on the defensive line for Western Michigan, not Alabama. So I don't think that because you got a kid that is ranked top 5 in the portal that it necessarily makes him an elite player. It's just that amongst the portal players, he's a good get. That's all. We disagree on. I don't mean
is Fabian Lovett a good player? Is our transfer from Miami a good player? Defensive tackle. I mean, you're loading up the ranks there to where you've got 2 or 3 waves of guys that's what playoff caliber teams have.
I think it was a key addition, and it matters. I'm just not losing sight that he's not some 5-star, can't-miss prospect at a high school that's 6'5", 330, and that everybody projects to go in the first round. He's not. He's a kid that played last year at Western Michigan.
Ooh, boy. Okay, we're going to have a good offseason discussing this because if they go 10-2 and their losses are to LSU and Clemson, that's not a successful season.
Oh, no. Listen – listen, how they lose matters, Tom. I agree with you. Like if they go to Clemson, who will be a top 20 team, they've moved on from that bum of a quarterback. They changed their offensive coordinator, and that was a really good hire, unfortunately, in my opinion. If they're humming with really good athletes and you lose on the road at night to Clemson, you're going to be pissed? I'm not going to like it. I'm tired of losing to Clemson. It's getting ridiculous, but it's not an absurd loss.
No, but that you're looking at just the one. If they lose to LSU as well, I mean,
LSU's the top 10 team. LSU has a bunch of NFL players. Their personnel last year, going into the Sugar Bowl, if you will, was better than Florida State's. Their personnel was better than Florida State's personnel last year. That's why that was a great win for Mike Norvell and this team, because the players at LSU are better or were better than Florida State's players.
I have playoff expectations this year. So that's how I'm going to define it. I'm not going to run from those expectations. This had the retention on this roster, the veteran nature of this roster, and the depth that's accruing in the trenches, both sides of the football, and the quarterback put me in a position to where if they lose both of those key games, that's not successful. We have come that far. It's remarkable that we have. Next year, I'm going to reassess because they're going to lose a whole lot from this roster.
Well, they are,
This year, in this college football with Clemson on the road, having a quarterback who's making his first real start because they open with Duke, whatever, on a Monday night, but his first real start is going to be against us, and you've got the veteran of veterans in Jordan Travis. Come on, man. You got to win at least one of those two. And Clemson on the road is actually a pretty good opportunity to do at least the minimum there and win one of them.
You're better. You have a better chance, I think, of beating LSU than you do Clemson on the road.
You got a better quarterback in both games for sure.
Well, we don't know that. We don't. Klubnik could be really good, dude. You don't know. He could be really good with more weapons.
But I'm talking, yes, maybe by November, but you're not getting him. Maybe we can have that discussion. It's different in the ACC championship game for a rematch, but you should have the better quarterback at that point. One's green, and one has already been through.
Yeah, people are underestimating. He did play last year, guys. He didn't. It's not like he's rolling out there and it's never seen the field in a big game. He has played. Ira and I got in this argument. He's played well in big moments. I don't know. Listen, I'm not saying that we can't beat Clemson. Don't get me wrong, everybody. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't load up the car and go to the Clemson game with the expectation that we could win it, because I'm going to that game and so are you. And we're going to have fun covering that game for Warchant.com and the Jeff Cameron Show. But it's not a bad loss. If you go up there and lose to a top 20 team with the way they've recruited the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, no, man, that's not a bad loss. I'm not gonna get angry about that. Now, if they get beat 37-7, it's a different conversation. Yeah. If they lose 34-31 and it's a war, you really gonna be mad about that? If they lose 28-27 to LSU, a top 10 team, with top 10 talent, you're going to be mad about that? I'm not going to like it. I don't want to lose, but you're not going to be mad.
If they lose both, this is a year of results. We want the damn results.
We got them. I'm not saying you get to go backwards.
Correct. And this is not a year for stagnance.
10-2 is not going backwards.
This is not a year for stagnance. This is a year to shoot for the stars, because then you're going to have to retool on the fly the year after. It's interesting. This is going to be fun to flesh out over the next interminable 6 months.
And it's going to go fast, guys. It's going to go fast. I'm wrong about this. I thought it was going to be an interminable offseason. It's not going to be. We get spring on March the 6th, as revealed by Jimbo, listen to me, by Mike Norvell on the Jeff Cameron Show last week. We know that spring starts in less than a month. We're going to cover that. It's going to be riveting. And the next thing you know, you're going to look up and it's freaking May. And I joke on the show all the time, Tom. When it's May, it's football season, baby. it's time. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant.
Joe, Java, Brew, Go-Go Beans, Brainwater, Liquid Lightning, Wakey Juice, whatever you call your cup of coffee, you're missing out if it's not Grassroots Coffee. At grassrootscoffee.com, you'll find an easy way to order the best roasted coffee beans available. It's very simple. Choose the blend you want and how you want it ground, and the bag you receive will have the date your beans were roasted and packaged on it, all written by hand and signed by the roast master himself. You'll know that's as fresh as it gets. You can get Grassroots outside of your house also at some of your favorite restaurants in town. Next time you're out to eat, try asking for Grassroots Coffee by name, because there's a good chance they will have it for you. And if you own a business, Grassroots Coffee has options to stock your break rooms with all the productivity powder your team needs. Plus, like some other options that you'll find at work, Grassroots Coffee actually is a part of our community. Get to grassrootscoffee.com today and get yourself a treat. Some locally owned, locally roasted, and locally loved Grassroots Coffee.
To call away. 222-7722. Heating and cooling is the job we do. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Invest in a Peak Performance membership and you'll buy peace of mind in knowing that you're extending the life of your system and probably saving money on your power bill too. The program includes comprehensive tune-ups that keep your system running at its maximum efficiency. And Peak Performance members get many benefits, including priority service. Members jump to the front of the line when their comfort system fails. And a 15% discount on all parts. The Peak Performance membership pays for itself over and over again. Call today and have peace of mind. Florida license number CMC 050334.
Parker Services. Conferences to call away. Parker Services. Conferences to call away.
Whitten Glass has been taking care of families since 1945.
Experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best, like Whitten's top-of-the-line bath enclosures. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass, and they provide precise installation.
Wooden Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass. Online at woodenglass.com. Call 850-222-5781.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and live movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Tampa Bay Lightning edged the Colorado Avalanche 4-3 last night as a $1.25 road favorite. Third straight win for the Lightning. They're on the road tonight at Arizona, playing $2.40 as the favorite. The Coyotes plus 200, 6.5 flat, the total. SEC basketball today, Florida Gators, a 10-point home favorite against Ole Miss, 137.5 the total at the O'Connell Center. The Gators have dropped 3 straight to fall to 13-12 of the season. Florida State on the road at Clemson as a 10-point underdog, 146.5 the total at Little John Coliseum, for the Tigers of 112 of 13.
Sign up now for your free VSiN subscription at VSIN.com/subscribe.
For more sports betting news and information, go to VSIN.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Cookie wants to be a professional wrestler.
I'm Cookie Serratos, and I'm 11 years old.
She also wants to win all the medals. That's why Cookie and her family make every day count, squeezing out her best with Go-Go Squeeze.
Okay, Cookie, let's break for a Go-Go Squeeze.
Go-Go Squeeze fruit-on-the-go pouches are a nutritious snack made from 100% fruit with no sugar added.
Go, Cookie!
Because when you nurture your kids, you squeeze out the best in them. Squeeze out the best with Go-Go Squeeze. Not a low-calorie food. Products range from 11 to 13 grams of sugar and 60 to 70 calories per serving.
The spring preview event has arrived with 50% off everything at Banana Republic Factory, now through Tuesday, February 21st. Discover fresh styles for the season, rooted in denim and utility. Explore more at your nearest Banana Republic Factory store or online.
Attention small business owners. Did you know you may have overpaid your payroll taxes during COVID? A 10-minute call to Omega Accounting Solutions could save you thousands. Call 800-300-9ERC or visit OmegaTaxCredit.com.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick, professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
This is Ken Wondergem, owner of Gem Mazda Tallahassee. I'm happy to say that our lot is loaded with brand new Mazdas for the first time in over 2 years. But hurry in for the best selection while the value of your trade is still high. Get adventurous and connect with nature in a new 23 Mazda CX-50 all-wheel drive at Gem Mazda, where you get the highest quality of service and care. Gem Mazda of Tallahassee, Capitol Circle Northwest, just up from West Tennessee Street, and always open at gemmazda.com.
Jerry's Famous Cigar Shop is a special place. It's Tallahassee's only traditional gentleman's cigar lounge with a massive collection of hard-to-find boutique cigar brands, a staff with over 100 years of combined cigar knowledge and experience, the best prices in town with full box discounts, a great selection of beer and wine, indoor and outdoor seating, private lockers, and best of all, Jerry's is a local family-owned business. Visit us on Sherrill Road or the new lounge on Cary Forest Parkway, the only cigar lounge for the true gentleman.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Good on you. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you very much. I'm Jeff. That is Tom. I don't know what Director Matthew's doing today. Probably editing this later on. I don't know what he's doing, but I hope he's well. All my love, Director Matthew. Kids, let's carry over that conversation for a second, all right? I'm going to ask you this, Tom, while we have this conversation about what is a realistic expectation. And get ready for these types of conversations, guys. All right. Is it realistic for Florida State fans to have the expectation that Georgia fans have this year? No, right?
No.
Okay. Is it realistic for Florida State fans to have the expectation that Ohio State fans have this year?
Maybe. They're breaking in a new quarterback. That's a team that is not quite the machine that Georgia is, and when you're breaking in a new quarterback at Ohio State, that could be a little dicey. Like Georgia can win with a third string quarterback. I think that's how loaded they are. Ohio State, they recruit very, very well, but when you don't have Stroud anymore, that opens up maybe a maybe category for me, and not a hard no like Georgia.
All right. Is it realistic for Florida State fans to have the expectation that Michigan fans have?
Sure.
Is it realistic for Florida State fans to have the expectation that Alabama fans have?
Probably not. They're on the other side of Ohio State, but they're not quite Georgia.
All right. So my point, and I think you know where I'm going here, is that you believe, and I'm asking the audience what they believe, that Florida State should have the expectations, not of Georgia, not of perhaps Alabama, but the expectations that Ohio State and Michigan fans have.
Yep.
You believe then that Florida State should have the expectations that USC has?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Florida State is more complete on both sides of the ball than USC, unless they have a drastic overhaul on defense. Yes.
It's fascinating. Just, again, say it out loud, guys. You are telling me that off of one winning season that you believe Florida State is in the conversation with USC, who had 5-star transfer after 5-star transfer after 5-star transfer, follow them with Lincoln Riley, who's the best offensive coach in football. That you believe that they have a similar ceiling as Ohio State, that has finished with a top 3 recruiting class or top 10 recruiting class, top 5 recruiting class for like 20 years in a row. Mm-hmm. I find that fascinating.
TCU went from 5-7 to the playoff.
They did, and they are an outlier, and you know they are. You know they're an outlier.
I do, but I also know that the transfer portal is an outlier for the last 10 to 20 years of college football, and we're abusing it in all the right ways.
Yeah.
That's the thing here, that TCU is capable of beating Michigan, who is capable of blowing out Ohio State with Stroud as a quarterback. So through degrees of separation, and yes, I will use the transitive here a little bit, it becomes that much closer. The margin, the proof that you have says that the margin is closer. And Ohio State, sure, they gave Georgia the better game in the playoff, and it's not even close. That was the best game in the college football playoff.
They probably should have won the game, yes.
And they probably should have won the game. But Stroud's gone. Bryce Young is gone at Alabama. That's why I said maybe, but probably not. That machine is still kind of special over there in Tuscaloosa.
You think?
But when you have this quarterback and then you have this collection of veterans, like we do this all the time in college basketball, and I understand that the sports are not the same, but when you talk about a veteran group that might not be as talented or might not have as many lottery picks in March Madness, but they've been together for 3 years or something.
Yeah.
That counts for something. That
in
means
the tournament, it does. Yeah.
And with this group at Florida State, you've got veterans in enough key places. You've got better depth. You like where the trenches are going. It has been systematically better. You love your play caller. You love your offensive coordinator. And you love the quarterback. And now you're balanced on offense with NFL draft picks at receiver, tight end, and running back. And they might be high picks at least two of those positions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is a group that should have expectations on par with programs not named Georgia and maybe Alabama. We'll see what the quarterback situation is. But quarterback matters greatly. If Duggan's not, running the helm for TCU last year, they might be a cute story that got into the top 20, but not a playoff team. So that's the other thing here. It is the quarterback is right. The trench play seems on par. And you're also striking in a year where there's a lot of quarterback turnover. It's USC. And who else has a quarterback that's coming back that you're saying, that's for sure their guy? Not Georgia, not Ohio State, not Alabama, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, it's a good point, Tom. I asked the question not to be, polarizing. This is just a question. Like, let's dive down into it. What is the real expectation and what's realistic? What are we out over our skis and thinking that Florida State, off of one good season, is in the conversation with teams that have recruited exceptionally well year after year after year after year? Our roster, I think this is my main point. Our roster is still not championship level. It's just not. We got very fortunate last year to handle some injuries well because they did a good job in the portal and they did a good job of finding some depth on the offensive line. They're also coached really well, and that matters. That carries over. But man, when I look at a Georgia roster and I looked at Ohio State's roster and I went back and looked even in Alabama, we talk about what a bad season Alabama had. They won 11 games. They won 11 games in the SEC. I mean, relative to Alabama, they had a bad year, but they won 11 games. LSU, who we beat, fair enough. First game of the year, we get all that. But when you look at those rosters, they're better rosters, man. They're better rosters. The recruiting has been better for longer and sustained than Florida State has. And so I just think that we need to pump the brakes a little bit regarding what we think this roster is. I like the coach. I like his staff for the most part. I'd still make a couple of changes, and I'll continue to beat that drum. But I like the coach. I like the staff for the most part, and I like the starters. But football is a game of attrition, and we know that guys go down, they get hurt, and we're weak at linebacker. We don't know what we have in the secondary. The second string on the defensive end is what?
Yeah.
It's whatever. It's ordinary. The offense, I think you're right to point to and say that should carry the day because that's the unit that is coached exceptionally well and has room to lose some people here and there. But other than that, the defensive side of the ball, we're talking to Adam Fuller next week, guys. I can't wait to talk to Adam Fuller. Man, there is a world of pressure on Adam Fuller because that defense has got to be much better, Tom, if we're a legitimate playoff contender.
Well, do they? To be a playoff contender? No.
Okay, so it's fair. You're going to say the ACC sucks, and they can – but if you're going to beat Clemson at Clemson and LSU over in Orlando, yes, that defense is going to have to be better.
They beat LSU last year with this defense.
We also know it's year 2 with Brian Kelly. They barely beat LSU last year. We had a veteran team with a veteran quarterback. I don't know, man.
They botched late situations to be in a position to lose that football game. I'll grant you. But for the balance of it, if you're talking about controlling the line of scrimmage and dictating terms, the defense did a very good job of that. Yes, Brian Kelly's had more time, but we also discovered the capabilities of Jordan Travis just that day. He's developed since then. He's
correct
since then. He's tougher since then.
I'm talking about the defense, Tom. I'm talking about the defense.
Well, I would flip it. Okay, let me ask you this. Should we have expectations equal to that of USC? Or should they have more expectations this year than Florida State?
I think they should have more expectations. They've got
a worse defense. They've got a worse defense than we do.
Possibly. They did last year. I don't know, man. I think when you look at their I'll go back and look at the transfers that they just brought in again, because that's what he's doing now. He's gonna have an all-star roster. In 1 year, they're gonna have an all-star roster. Like Oregon's time in the Pac-12 is over. They should leave. They should go to the Big Ten. They got no chance. USC has now decided that they care about big boy football. Last year, they brought in a genius offensive mind, the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback who's going to go number 1 overall at the end of this season. They brought in the Biletnikoff Award winner at wide receiver, and they lit everybody up. Now, did they lose a couple games? Yes, including to Utah, who I love to point out is my favorite team in the Pac-12. But that's year 1. They've also brought in a bunch of defensive transfers. It's going to start to shape up like a national title contender very quickly at USC. Do we think we're a national title contender? There are two different things, by the way. Being a playoff contender, we are. You're right. You point to TCU. That's the right thing to do. We are a playoff contender. Are we a national title contender? You would say by definition, if you're in the playoff, you are. I disagree a little bit about that.
No. I have long said that it's a different discussion between playoff contender and championship contender. We've had that discussion here. We might have today. But my question is USC in your mind a national title contender right now?
If they beat Utah, sure.
They can't be. They can't be. If he has a good defense, it'll be the first time in his coaching career
that's a fair criticism of Lincoln Riley. I had that criticism when he was at Oklahoma.
I mean, honestly, and this offense, like, look, there are two, I think, we'll see what North Carolina does. I feel like they're going to lose games that they shouldn't because that's
what they do.
And that's what's going to knock May out. So I think that you've got two real candidates here for the Heisman, one on each coast, and you've got similar situations in that you really love the offense. You love the dynamic nature of what Caleb Williams has on the West Coast, what we have in the Eastern time zone here with Jordan Travis. If you win enough high-profile games, those two are going to be electric all year long, and they're going to be Heisman candidates. And it's going to be a fun thing to watch. But if I was to pick right now, having seen enough of USC last year, and I watched enough of them, that's the one thing about, doing the watch-alongs of the post-game shows. When you get the Pac-12. We've got a better defense than USC does. They're the ones that have to prove that they have come and exceeded our level of defense. That is front to football, the defense that they play.
But, Tom, when we played anybody with a pulse on offense, we gave up 30-plus points.
They'd give up 50 with anybody with a pulse.
I'm just telling you, it's not like we can look down on that defense. I don't think our defense was very good at all. I don't.
It is well documented that you feel that. My point is that if you're looking about relative between USC and Florida State and who should have higher expectations, Florida State is the more complete roster at present. USC has more to prove to show a greater balance than Florida State does. Because I think Caleb Williams for Jordan Travis, I know this might be sacrilegious.
Oh, come
it's
on,
a watch. Man. I'm not talking about professional prospects. I'm talking about lining up in college football 60 minutes. It's about the same. It's about the same what they can bring to the table. Jordan Travis won a game last year in November by himself with the offensive line failing him miserably. The offensive line at USC is far better than the one at Florida State last year, especially in November as the season waned down.
Yeah, I don't want to get into where I have to once again denigrate Jordan Travis. I'm not going to do it.
You kind of enjoy doing that. But
I don't enjoy doing that. I have sung that kid's praises 1,000,000 times over this last year to make up for all the doubt that I had. I have told everybody I was wrong about Jordan Travis, and I'll say it again here. I was wrong about Jordan Travis. I don't care who you're talking to. They're all liars if they tell you they thought Jordan Travis was going to be what he was a year ago. Nobody thought that. Corey Clark is ahead of the Jordan Travis fan club, and he didn't think he'd be that. And so, listen, I have come around on Jordan Travis. I'm not gonna besmirch Jordan Travis, But, man, that kid is the number one pick in the draft. Caleb Williams is going to be the number one pick in the draft.
There's a big difference between Saturdays and Sundays, and I'm with you on that. If I had to choose between Caleb Williams and Jordan Travis to lead my franchise in the NFL, I'd laugh at the question. I would laugh at the question.
Correct.
But, Tim Tebow was an unstoppable force in college.
He was. That's a good point. That is a very good point.
He never had a chance. Kyler Murray, we can go down the line.
Well, yeah, you and I both first guessed all of that, yes.
Correct. Jordan's got a little more something to him than Kyler Murray did, but I digress. We'll let this season play out.
Kyler Murray won the Heisman and was really good at Oklahoma. Let's go easy there.
I'm talking about professional. More professional quality throws already. This past year was eye-opening in that regard. I'm saying that those two offenses are a wash.
Mm-hmm.
With Lincoln Riley's grand master plan, he's a wonderful offensive coordinator. We'll find out eventually if he's a good head coach. But with his grand wizardry, and well, that's probably a bad phrase, but offensive wizardry.
Yeah.
With this offense that we have here, as balanced as it is, this is why I have the expectations that I do. You can tell I'm getting fired up about this, that this is a playoff contending team. And if you lose, as I said before, both of your big games in September, good God, guys, then what did we do this all for? Come on.
But if I ask you before the season, does Florida State go? If Florida State goes 10-2, are you angry?
They lose.
You're going to say who did they lose to? That's fair. But I'm just saying, really, you're going to be mad at 10-2?
That's where we've gone this year.
What if they go 11-2, 10-2 in the regular season, and they win a bowl game and they go 11-2? They were 5-7 before last season.
They were 10-3 last year. I mean, we're moving forward.
Yeah, and again, their one win of exception is against LSU. Everybody else they beat sucked. That's the reality.
Okay, so they're not a good football team?
They're a really good football team.
How is that possible if they didn't beat any good teams except for LSU?
They're a really good football team. Really good football teams take care of business against bad football teams. And Florida State took care of business against bad football teams over and over and over again. When they played really good football teams, they either lost or came real close to losing. I mean, Oklahoma wasn't great. Florida wasn't great. We go back through this.
So then they shouldn't be categorized as a really good football team then.
The defense, the unit that I'm questioning, there's a reason. And it's that defense. They have to make the leap. Your arguments are always going to stem from how good this offense should be based on what Jordan Travis did a year ago and the personnel. I agree, and that's fine. They can win a lot of games, 38-24, whatever that might be, against good teams. Yeah, they could. You're right. And that's why I do have expectations of winning 10 games, and I think they should be in the conversation for a playoff berth. I agree with that. But I'm trying to graduate to, are we a national championship contender? And of the playoff teams, of the teams that are in the discussion, where are we? It's really less about denigrating the team and more about trying to find that balance of what's a realistic expectation.
Well, okay, let me flesh this out a little bit more. I think this will help, especially for those that are in your camp. If this was a season in which Bryce Young was coming back, and Stroud was coming back, and Clemson had a better quarterback, that was a veteran.
They do have a better quarterback.
Well, again, if they had a guy like Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun Watson,
accomplished, yes.
They had an accomplished veteran quarterback returning to the fold.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe if LSU had better than Daniels, because I think we've got the better quarterback in game one, then I would look at the roster and say, a top 6, top 7 finish. I'd love it. But this is a year of opportunity for Florida State, especially because Bennett's gone at Georgia, and say what you will, that kid's tough, and they loved playing for him. You could tell.
He's a good college quarterback, yeah.
And Young is gone, and Stroud is gone. So this opens the door against those foes that have recruited like nuts, because you're going to be better at the quarterback position than them, unless they have a phenom that grows like Jameis did, or Johnny Manziel did in their redshirt freshman years.
And they might, because they've recruited really well.
And they might. But because of those circumstances that there is quarterback turnover, my expectations are ratcheted from New Year's 6 to college football playoff. I hope that helps bring the reason out a little bit more. if there were 3 other Heisman contenders on those particular teams that we knew about, then I would put us as an underdog to make the playoff. But because the quarterback door matters greatly, that matters so significantly, and that's why I think Florida State's expectations should go to 11 wins, 12 wins in the 11 wins in the regular season, 12 ACC championship and playoff.
So if they don't win 11 games, you think it's a disappointing year?
11 through Charlotte. Yeah, let's say they go 10-2, but they get a second crack at Clemson in the ACC championship. They win that football game. They win the ACC. That is a successful and good job. You brought home.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to make sure
mean the playoff. Even if that doesn't mean the playoff, that's still successful. Absolutely.
All right. So a rematch would make the difference. Okay. Because I don't think losing on the road at Clemson probably going to be a night game. I don't think that's a bad loss, and I don't think a close loss to LSU, if it were to happen, is a bad loss. I just don't. I wouldn't like it. I'd be pissed. I want to win. I think they could win both those games, but they could easily lose both those games, and it's not the end of the world. Your coach isn't failing you if you lose those games in a tight fashion. There were times when Florida State had a team that I thought, if you lose this game, your coach let you down. That's in the last 40 years, if we go game by game on the schedule, I can point to the times that I thought, if you lose this game, your coach failed you because you have better players. That's not true in the game against LSU, and it's not true in the game against Clemson. It's not.
It's close. The LSU game especially.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV. Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
July 9, 1755, near Fort Duquesne, now the city of Pittsburgh, a 23-year-old British officer leads his troops in battle during the French and Indian War. Though fired upon repeatedly, this young lieutenant colonel remains unharmed, to the disbelief of the native warriors. 15 years later, a respected chief sat over a council fire with this same man. As he told all those listening, the Great Spirit protects this man and guides his destiny. He will become the chief of nations, and a people yet unborn will hail him as the founder of a mighty empire. The man was George Washington, who went on to become the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army and the first president of the United States.
Celebrating our nation's quest for freedom. Whitten Glass on South Monroe. For mirrors, shower enclosures, and window glass, call 222-5781. And Sellers Tile on Capitol Circle Northeast. For tile, carpet, hardwood, and luxury vinyl, call 656-8453.
So let's say you're considering buying a new home in the current climate. We've all heard that demand is high, inventory is low. So how do you get a leg up on the rest of the buyers all making offers on the same house as you? Oh, that's a toughie. But the first place I'd suggest you start is with a call to my friend Shannon at Legendary Home Loans. Shannon will set you up with a complete pre-approval underwriting. This used to be an upgrade, but nowadays it's got to be standard. You want to get your offer on a new home pushed to the front of the line, you need a TBD full underwriting approval from Legendary Home Loans. You'll shorten or even remove your financing contingency, and the sellers will know that your offer is real and ready to go. It's tough out there these days, folks, So why not have the advantage of a proven winning team in your huddle? Get pre-approval underwriting from my friend Shannon with the one and only Legendary Home Loans. Call now, 844-FSU-LOAN, 844-FSU-LOAN, or just visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Equal housing lender. NMLS number 2270146.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
All right, kids, fun discussion this afternoon on the Jeff Cameron Show with my cohort and dear friend Tom Lang about reasonable expectations. I'm sure I'll get a bevy of reasonable responses to that discussion in my email inbox and on Twitter. Florida State plays baseball today, guys. That's right. They do. That's right. Welcome back, baseball. I sat in my driveway yesterday as I pulled in, and I had to immediately pull back out because that's what you do as a dad. You take your kids like a taxi to and fro. Anyhow, as I did, I saw the Cardinals. They were all over the yard. I texted Tom Lang about this, and I had my window down with the breeze coming through, as discussed earlier. And I thought, welcome back, baseball. Welcome back the sounds of baseball. Welcome back, baseball expectations. Hey, how about that? That's a professional. Don't try that at the house. I am really pumped about Florida State baseball. And on that front, we had a chance to talk to Link Jarrett earlier this week. If you missed the interview, hey, good news. You're going to hear it right now. Yeah, it's refurbished, guys. It doesn't mean it's not acceptable. That table looks fine in your living room. So here's the deal. Link Jarrett coming up right now. Looking forward to it. Listen to this interview. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Florida State baseball. I'm not paid by Florida State, so when I tell you to go to the game, it's more about your mental health than it is any sort of public service announcement that helps me. But they are playing against James Madison at 5 o'clock today. Here's the interview with Link Jarrett, and enjoy it. And I will talk to you on Tuesday. We all have Monday off. Enjoy your Monday. That's going to be great. We will talk on Tuesday.
Coming up after this short break for the Link Jarrett interview.
Yeah, there you go. That's what you get. It's coming up. Be good, everybody. Have a great weekend. Go Noles.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
This is Tyler from Bear No Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere.
Save big time in the new year and get $1,200 off select new units.
Online at BearNoAC.com.
Keeping you comfortable. Is what Barry does best.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
My man Eddie.
Jeff, what's happening, dude?
Bears eating people all over the place. I read another article today. It's the third one in the last month of somebody getting mauled to death by a bear.
Man, you know, bears have their own space. You got to let them have that.
You do. You got to stay clear of bears, is what you're saying?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Here you go. If you had to be mauled to death, eaten alive by any animal in the world, which would you choose to eat you alive?
Ooh, I think maybe I'd want, I don't know, longevity time, a mouse?
Just a slow burn.
Slow burn.
This thing just finished the pinky. It's been a month.
I could go to work. I could still do my thing. I could probably live 30 years.
I thought you were going to say great white because it'd be quick, or a grizzly. We went with mouse.
Yeah, mouse.
Okay.
You know?
Mouse it is. Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey,
Matt.
Yeah, that's Greg.
Do you know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3? There are several. So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And of course, you can always listen right on the radio.
Well, they are listening.
Are they?
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness, 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road, and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome in, Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV, and here we go. We celebrate it every year. Always love the opportunity to head up the conversation surrounding Florida State baseball. Going into the year, opening day is Friday against James Madison, 5 p.m. The door is open. You see the man on the screen right there. He is the head baseball coach, Link Jarrett. Link, thanks again. It's great to talk to you again. I know you got to be very, very excited. I wonder, do you remember, not as a player, but perhaps your first opening day?
Not as a player?
Not as a player, just as a kid at community, like first time. Because you know what I think, Link? If you love baseball, you'll remember this. I know you do. That first time that you walk through the gate and come down the aisle, any baseball park, the grass is so green, it's overwhelming. It's just, it captures your heart.
Well, it was here for me. And my parents still live right up the road, and we walked down here, and it was a chain link fence. You just remember the bleachers. I think it was wooden bleachers, a chain link fence.
Yeah.
And like being up close to guys that were that physical when you're probably, 7 or 8 years old, and you're standing there, and the proximity, I think it was ground level, and you're basically looking at these guys, the Ledbetters and, some of the guys from back in that era that were so physical and so big, and you're looking at it through that fence. That's what I remember. My first recollection of baseball was right here. Home plate's probably in the same spot, essentially.
What I think is cool about that, here we are, the moments at hand, Link, and I guess describe a little bit your emotions. You got a job to do, I know, but it's got to feel a little surreal. You think about, for the folks out there listening, you were in June, leading a victory over Tennessee and Knoxville on your way to the College World Series. Fast forward, you set to coach the team that you grew up watching. You just described that. Later on, became an All-American as a player. And now you're at the helm, about to embark on your head coaching career at Florida State. That's got to be exhilarating.
It's amazing when you think about it. I walked off the field last night, and I was doing an interview in the coach's locker room. I'm kind of going, I'm sitting here in the coach's locker room as a head coach, and I've rooted around this whole place. Now you're responsible for the atmosphere and the messaging of the program in this role. And I'm very excited. I really, Jeff, I want to get to the first inning of the game and get into the game. There have been so many parts of dealing with the transition for myself personally, coaching staff, and then those players have been through a lot. So you're ready for some of that to transition into competition. And that's what I'm most excited for. I'm a little ready for some of the supplemental peripheral stuff to end and go in there and have a really good first inning of baseball, get off of that field, into the dugout, and try to figure out a way to produce offensively. And then you do that over and over. And I'm really at that point in my mind of ready to relish and enjoy the competition. I think, we talk about it with the players as you get further in your career. And, Seth Maness, our graduate assistant, pitched in the World Series. So when you can finally get to the field and get to the mound, I think that's where you're actually most comfortable. And that countdown is on. We need to have 2 really good practices. We'll practice tonight under the lights. We wanted the players to just sense that really for the first time this time of year. And we do have some new lighting. The lights that shine up are supposed to provide, we got much brighter bulbs in some of those fixtures. So it should present a better ability to see the ball. So, my checklist is almost complete. And I do want to get into that first inning and Carson Montgomery, let him ratchet that thing up and go get them, and let's compete.
I'm curious, do you get more? Players play, and like you say, you get to the field, you go through your routine. They're usually habitualized, and guys get ready to play. Once they're on the field, they're doing what they've always done. Do you get more nervous as a coach than you did as a player, or do you get nervous at all anymore?
Yes, you do get nervous. I think you want to just make sure the house is in order.
Yeah.
You know, and in my first time here, I want the game day experience to be very professional. And if somebody gets to come to one game at Hauser Stadium, I want that to be a great experience for that individual or that family. I really do. So some of the things that we've worked on all fall and all preseason leads you up to how you're going to do your timeline countdown for game one. And Bailey and Chip have been great. Adam Ham, they have helped me so much. But ultimately, you want the experience to be A plus from the moment people enter the field until the last out of that game ends with hopefully a victory for us. So you are nervous. I think it's totally different perspective on what your concerns are as a player. Your physical capabilities and your game planning and making sure you're in tune with the competition is one thing. Obviously, pushing the right buttons as a coach and hoping, the game day experience goes properly, but then putting the guys in position to win. And when you have to push buttons or you have to make personnel moves, that you hope that you push the right buttons to give those guys ultimately the best chance to win.
Talking with Link Jarrett, head baseball coach, Florida State. For those listening on air, not watching on Warchant TV, I would encourage you to do both. It's a young team, coach. Do you like that, though? An opportunity, I guess, to instill from the start what you want them to be as ball players and student athletes?
Well, yeah, Jeff, that's an interesting concept. You don't always know whether the young player that doesn't seem to have the experience at this level, like how sometimes that's just fine. All of these guys relative to us are new. So, the canvas is somewhat clean in terms of our experience coaching them in games. So, the fact that there's a handful of names that people recognize, whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I do like the names that everybody recognizes. When you think of Ferrer and Crowell and Montgomery and Tibbs and Carry On, and obviously Colton Vincent caught essentially every game last year. Like, there are some household type names that are really good players. Then you have to mix in guys that people do not know. I did not know any of the guys other than the 4 games we played them last year. So then you put a Cam Smith in there, a Diamez Ross, McGuire Holbrook, who's one of our catchers that's a little dinged up, but was a transfer from West Virginia. I think he will impact things as soon as he's healthy. That will be soon. Jordan Taylor, Jordan Williams. There are some guys that have really grasped what we're doing and have performed at a high level. Trayton Rank, we've moved him infield, outfield. He's an athletic kid that's had a really good back end of the preseason. So I like some of the new faces. To you are no different than the guys that have been in the program, like to me. So Cameron Smith, third base, has been a phenomenal experience. Like, he is moving to third, and most of your elite infielders in high school play more shortstop, and then some of them move, and Carry On is very savvy out there. We felt like the right thing for Carry On and the team was to stay at short. And Cam Smith, Jeff, when you see this, this is a 6'4", 225-pound, very elite talent. Now, third base is a difficult position at any level, but when you make that transition from short to third for the first time, and you're having to deal with all the bunting and how the angle of the ball coming off the bat, it's different. It is different. When I did it, the perception of seeing the pitch ball from the middle infield, you could track that thing all the way to the plate. At third base, you can see the pitcher out of the corner of your eye, but you have to be a little more engaged with the strike zone itself, able to track the ball all the way. So we've worked a lot on just the angles and the reads and the different things that are unique to third base. But I think you'll find him very exciting. And Nander DeSatis, a face that was absent for a year, he said, Coach, I please let me finish my college career at Florida State. And I was thankful we were able to get him back, and he gives us some depth and has done a nice job at second base. So I like what's going on out there. And when you mesh all this together, essentially we've seen 2 groups of these guys kind of going head to head, and now it's time to try to mesh that and put them in a competitive stance where they come out on top.
Something that I observed and the way you answered that question, you weren't afraid to bring up Cam Smith. Anybody following college baseball understands who this young man is excited to see him play. His potential that you just described is something that people, if you're a Florida State fan, you're kind of salivating. Big, strong kid, all world in the state of Florida. People know of him. Do you worry about the pressure that comes with that? Obviously not, because you brought it up right away about what a talent he is. How do you handle freshmen with a lot of aspirations and projections from others on them?
He's just dynamic, and you have to separate in college athletics the dynamic capabilities of a freshman from the fact that they are freshmen. So the lack of having been through this is real. The talent is real too. So finding my moments to coach him and try to bring him along and point out things that he did really well and point out things that clearly we need to improve on. There's that balancing act. Make no mistake that the talent and the potential is real. I mean, you will see it, and it will not take long to realize that. Also, we must realize, he's young and he has not been through this. So there may be some things that come up that are freshman-ish, even though the raw capabilities and the talent clearly are not. So it's that balance and massaging and finding times to push him a little bit and making him feel confident, even if he has had some mistakes that he has had to play through. So that's the managerial aspect of what we have to do with kids this age.
As you pointed out, they're all new to you, whether they're freshmen or they've been veteran players on this roster. Quick question about that, then we'll finish up with the rotation and some other questions about the arms that we haven't gotten to. I mentioned this team was young. You're right to point out the veterans of the 9 position players who started last season's final game. We know only 4 remain, and you named those guys. But I am curious, I guess the question would be, how long does it take for players to unlearn, for lack of a better term, and then learn a different approach, if that's something that you're applying to them? In other words, how long does it take for guys to assimilate to the way you want them to play?
Well, I think when you get through 2 to 3 weeks of fall team practice, now baseball has the unique calendar of you have the skill work segment. So you're not out there with the team. Okay. So you're with them, but you're not scrimmaging and really competing, and you're not out there for 18 to 20 hours a week. So I think once you've had 2 to 3 weeks of team practice, they start to understand what's going on. Now, it's not a complete package at that point, but I think their understanding and comfort with it, and our comfort as coaches with what they're able to handle, that's when you see it. And, at that point, you're halfway through the fall. Then you're trying to figure out what each one of those guys needs from a technical standpoint. When you get back, we noticed, I noticed it at Notre Dame. I noticed it here. When you get back, there's a little bit of natural regression when those guys are gone for 4 or 5 weeks for Christmas break. So then you come back, and the recall and the transmission of data, like you hope it's efficient and they jump right back on board. But there's things they're going to do at home to prepare, but there are also things that they're probably not going to sit around the fireplace in the living room and go over the signs with their parents and grandparents like at Christmas. So there's certain things we know when we come back, man, we got to push the gas pedal in these areas. Physically, they're working on their swing and their arm mechanics and getting themselves in shape. So I know that's a lot of information for your question, but there is that initial, let's get it. And that better take 3 weeks. And then they start to get it. And then when you come back, quick tune up, and then you have to really be able to drive the car.
Oh, that's great, Coach. More information, not less information. That's wonderful. We're getting this team familiarized for the fans in the stands. Speaking of which, the last time you talked about this team, you mentioned that you weren't real sure how you were going to utilize everybody yet. Have you carved out roles for these guys? Let's start with the pitchers, for example. The rotation going into the weekend, what you see it as, and then also whether or not you've got carved out roles for these guys. And if not, two-pronged question. If you don't have carved out roles for everybody just yet, how long would you like that to take, or before you realize, okay, this is what he is, or this is how I'm going to utilize him?
Jeff, very interesting. Probably the most demanding part of what we have to do as coaches, and with the pitching staff. It is the most important and the most demanding maintenance that you have. We really built 6 guys in the preseason to get that pitch count up to 75, in practice. Now, 75 in practice is a little different than when you roll out here and there's 5,000 people screaming. Those 75 pitches are a little bit different. As real as we want to make practice, I do recognize it's different. So how do you balance who is going to essentially start the game and who seems to, in weekend 1, we hope this is a 17-week deal. In weekend 1, we're looking at what gets the team out of the gate best in terms of who seems most logical to, with what we have, go open these games, and what do you have in leverage dynamic situations that allows you to escape if you need to, evade problems, and extend outings. So we really landed on Montgomery, Baumeister, and Arnold to open these games. That leaves us Crowell, who is very, very dynamic and could easily start in May. But it gives an experienced leverage arm dynamic a chance to help us escape and evade and also extend, because we built him just like we built the guys that essentially we determined would start these 3 games. Connor Whitaker's in the same mold. Fields his position, both of them, Crowell and Whitaker, really handle the run game, field their position. So when you put them in with traffic, like if they have to handle the ball, you have super athletic guys that are in the game if there is traffic. When the game starts, sometimes we may feel like we're in a jam, but there's nobody on base. So you do not have traffic unless it's self-inflicted. So the guys that start do get the opportunity to warm up how they want and enter a clean game. Those leverage guys, and I say leverage because in our game, this is something that may take place in the 4th inning, the 5th inning. It's not always the last 3 outs. Sometimes those leverage situations allow you to escape so that you do have a game to win and compete in the 9th. So we don't by nature hold somebody to just throw the 9th inning. When you look at the David Barretts, the Brennan Oxfords, we extended them, but we didn't extend them as much as the other group. Benny Barrett, big right-handed freshman, we extended him a little bit, not quite as much as Whitaker and Crowell, but he was extended. And then Dougie Kirkland is a live-armed right-hander. I mean, it's been mid-90s with a upper 80s breaking ball. Been pretty good. And then Andrew Armstrong, like left-handed, good stuff. We have to get a little more out of him. So we start to script this out. But David Barrett in Oxford, being David Barrett righty with upper 80s, 90-mile-an-hour breaking ball, and Brendan Oxford, the transfer lefty from Wake Forest, we feel like in short spurts, not necessarily matchup, but we did not build them to get to 70 pitches, but they're probably capable of giving you 45 or 50 if need be. So that's how we scripted this for this weekend. I do not know, Jeff, how this plays out. Our job and our goal was to find a way to win Friday, win Saturday, win Sunday, win this series. And that clearly to us was the way to go about it, to give everybody a chance to function in a role.
I love it. Folks get a good idea of the process that you're going through as you figure out these roles that I asked about, and then also knowing that it's fluid. I'd ask you before we let you go, Coach, as we walk through the gates at Hauser and we get set for opening day, you already mentioned several of the starters, position players. I guess go through one last time, Outfield, how you envision this. I know some of it's matchups always, depending on who the other team is going to start. But if you could, for the fans that are walking through the gates and they're filling out their scorecard, what does that position group look like to you?
Well, it looks like you're going to have Jaime in right field. And we've spent a lot of time. I'll just tell you this, like our stadium dimensions, you're confined in right field. And if you can have center field capabilities at Hauser Stadium in center field and left field, those are the areas that demand the most coverage. Right field is tricky, but you run out of room pretty quickly. We may go to some places where it's the other way. Like you go to NC State and left field is tight. So his ability to play right field here, but also not just be limited to right field, will help us throughout the course of a long season. Diamez Ross, if we're talking on pure center field and left-handed hitter and great base runner, he sure fits the mold in center field, and that's probably where we'll go. Jordan Taylor, Diamez is a freshman. Jordan Taylor's also a freshman, and he's had a really good preseason. Those guys can both run. Jordan Taylor can really, when he gets underway and opens it up, he can fly. They both throw well. Jaime throws very well. Jordan Taylor gets rid of it, and it's coming out of his hand like it's shot out of a cannon, no matter where you put him in the outfield. Jordan Williams, switch hitter, junior college player, great baseball history. He could play center. He could play left or right, but probably more to left field right now. And I'll tell you, Trayton Rank has done a nice job of acclimating to the outfield. He's played some infield. We've moved him to the outfield, so he's a candidate in left field. And I think really right now you kind of have a three-way fight out there for left field. Tibbs, also a very capable outfielder, but to get another runner in the lineup, we are trying to get Tibbs comfortable at first base. Good athlete. He could probably go play center field, but when you bring that type of athlete into the infield, the mobility, kind of the range, I know first base throwing doesn't come into play a lot, but those 3-6-1s and some of those pickoffs and the things that come up, it is nice to have somebody over there that can really throw, and you can.
Yeah.
So we'll look at Tibbs. DeSatis looks to open at second base. Titan Kamaka has challenged and had a good fall as a freshman, but Nander's got that experience. He probably more than anybody, he's been through the SEC battles and clearly through the battles here. Carrion will play shortstop. Just love his savviness, and every day I'm around him, I taste that baseball savvy and headiness that he has. It's really impressive how he navigates what's going on. And then Cam Smith at third and Colton Vincent will catch. And we do have some catching depth. One of the key pieces is out. I told you Holbrook's dinged up right now. He'll be back, but Colton again, gosh, that guy caught about every inning last year. So you feel good. DH, Cade Bush, Gunnett Carlson, one of the other left field candidates, whether it's Rank or Jordan Williams. I kind of leave that DH to the last minute. I don't really train somebody to DH. That's just a byproduct of trying to put the best defensive team on the field and see what bat is left. And the nice thing about the DH is it gives you some interchangeable parts without affecting the defense. So how you use the DH spot really gives you a little more flexibility to bounce guys around based on what's happening throughout the course of a game.
Link, I wish you the best. Happy opening day, sir. Thanks for spending so much time with us. I know the fans appreciate it. I do as well. I wish you luck. I'll be talking to you throughout the season. Be well, good sir.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate the time.
All right, you take care.